So dear Dhamma practitioners, this is our ongoing meditation session, and be comfortable yourself and relax your body. And once we get connected with the other network, we're ready to start the session for today. Okay, so dear Dhamma practitioners, be comfortable yourself and relax your body, and keep your back straight, neck head straight in one line, and your right palm on your left. So gently close your eyes and bring your attention to this bell sound. And while you're focusing to the sound, mentally relax your body, relax your mind, and relax your breathing with your thoughts. So do nothing extra. Just follow the sound, please. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the fully enlightened One. So dear Dhamma practitioners, before we start our practice session, as usual, we'll take few minutes for ourselves to understand and clarify more clearly how this practice can help for us to develop our inner wisdom. So when it comes to this spiritual practice from the ancient time, people have different views regarding the mind and body connection. In the ancient times, some spiritual practitioners used to believe only the mind is important. They completely neglected the body, and they thought the mind is the power, and it related to the God, and the power of the God inside you connected to your mind. And some deeply used to abuse the body, deeply that used to neglect the body and give a hard time to body. And some thought there's a kind of like a body even need a kind of like a punishment to release the mind from it. Some used to believe this body is kind of like a prison that hold the mind or the soul. To release the soul, you have to punish the body, break down the body. And some used to believe the body as the most important part, not the mind. And they used to believe the body is need to preserve and then the body need to keep, because this mind need this body to come back again and again. And at the same time, when you look at that, the kind of like Egypt, you know, in the pyramid, they kind of like find the mummies, they preserve the body. And the body has a kind of like rather than cremate, after, you know, when a person die, they bury the body and protect the body in a certain way. They used to believe the body, the physical part is very important. And there was a question even come to Buddha. And sometimes some followers ask from the Buddha, is the body and mind separate, or is the body and mind one thing? And Buddha didn't give a kind of like a clear answer for that. So what is the important thing here we have to understand? So when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, is to develop this spiritual path, you have to take care of this body and mind both together. It's not one thing separate. You need this both. It is not a kind of like you try to liberate your mind, soul from your body and connect with the God, or kind of like that something. And sometimes people used to give up the world. They had the deeper intention and idea to give up this everything, but deeply they used to hold it to the self, the soul, to interconnect with the God. So you give up, you separate from the world, but deeply they had a intention to relate, hold it to something. But when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, it is not like that. You separate from you separate from the world, you detach from the world, but at the same time you detach from the self also. It's not you detach from the world to go with have the attachment to the universe. No, this both separate. So when it comes to that, the deeply that it's even not a kind of like a physical and mental separation. This both together, as when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, that especially in the Dharma. So that is what we mention as the Buddha's teaching, Dharma. And so in the Dharma, it has five aggregates: form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. So those 5 things, interconnection of the body and mind. So then in Buddhism, rather than talking about the body and mind separately, so it talk about this whole together. And when it go to the world, this body and mind separation, so with the mind, it always the reasoning part develop. And with the body, the passion develop. So that sometimes some people talk about the passion is talk about the reasoning is important. It's a deeply intellectually to understand. So, but when it comes to the practice, you have to understand it is not the reasoning, or it is not separately. Being passionable is important. Harness this both together, bring the connection to this together rather than separation, and understand deeply is the important part. So it is then, you have to remember, this is the thing, rather than rejecting or resisting regarding the body or the mind, passion or the reasoning, you have to develop a mindset to be with this together and accepting it as part of the nature, but still not to attach to that. So how you can be separate, that not to attach to that? Because once you understand this all changing, and it has nature related to impermanent, and it has a nature to selfless, and each and everything interconnected and always depending from something and changing, that understanding and wisdom will help you to get out of that attachment. So through meditation, it is not nourishing the self, it is not nourishing the body, it is not kind of like an escape from this point to that. It's not kind of like a place that you detach from that and attach to Nibbana, or from detach from that attach to kind of like a liberation related to some kind of place or the person, but you are very understanding deeply within yourself how this happens, how this existence, how this moment that you go through, what is the experience that you go through, the recognizing that is the most important part. So when it comes to that, 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, volition, and the consciousness. It's an interconnection of the body and mind. And then deeply, the very final, the most important part is the consciousness. So when it comes to the very nature of the consciousness, is consciousness has the 2 basic languages, the forms and names and forms. So the names, so they come out of the mind, and the forms come out of the body. So that's kind of like the forms carry the pictures, names carry the words. So this both interconnection bring the nature of the consciousness. So once you are capable to settle down deeply and observe within yourself that your own form, feelings, perceptions, volitions, and consciousness, what happened, that you are capable to understand this body or the mind is not separate. These both together get to help each other and interdepending. So understanding that itself is a huge success in within yourself, because otherwise what happened, we have in a nature kind of like a separate things from and hold it to one thing. To practice point of view, separate and recognizing is very necessary. It's kind of like developing a reverse mechanism. So when you develop that, what happens, rather than to bound something, you are capable to unbound. So that's here, when you are deeply observe that within your own inner experience, rather than bounding towards somewhere or something, what will happen? You are capable to unbound within your own mind and body connection itself, but rather than separating from it and hold it to something else. So it's a kind of like a different way of science that you have to understand, but it is within yourself. Because that all things we try to, as example, when you talk about your house, in that house, there are a lot of things inside. With all that, everything, including that you mention your house or your room, or maybe your handbag. Your handbag doesn't mean it's just the handbag. There are a lot of things inside. Your wallet. So your wallet means, it doesn't mean that it's just the wallet. There are certain things inside. So like that, when you say, I am, in that I am, there are a lot of things inside. So within dropping that all things, how are you going to get this I am out of that? No, because if you drop that everything, it's anymore not going to be I am. So that's what you're recognizing deeply when you observe. So for that, you have to start somewhere. It's not by just thinking that you can go with that. You have to deeply come to a point and settle down and observe and recognize, because that recognition will deeply take you to this clear understanding. So then we sit with our own body and use our mind and interconnect it with so the body develop the awareness, and the mind develop the awareness, the body get the help out of, give the help out of the sensation. So then that mental object and settle down with the body, and always you go into deeper, when you go into deeper, you recognize the very nature of the body. And at the same time, when you recognize the very nature of the body, it bounces back and give the result to understand the very nature of the mind. So it is not a kind of like, when it comes to your body and your mind, it's not a kind of like a different, that separately exists something. It's deeper interconnection. So once you understand, once you see this connection, what happens with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, with these physical things, you become very disciplined. And at the same time, with your eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, you become very mindful. So when you become very disciplined and mindful, it's develop a bridge, connection in between your bodily, verbally, and mentally actions. So that is where, rather than creating unwholesome actions, you are capable to bring more and more and more wholesome actions. This process itself we call purification of the mind. So purification of the mind doesn't mean you neglect the body. So when you purify mind, then naturally as a result of that, what happens out of your bodily action, verbally actions, you are become more profitable person to yourself and to the society. So then remember, rather than separating or focusing to one thing, take this everything together and work at one time to effect for everything is the very nature of the Vipassana meditation. It's not that you just neglect a whole other bunch of things and go with one thing. No, you accept this everything. So when it becomes a mental quality, what happens? In any situation, within your inside or outside, your personal life, or your social life. So whatever incident happens, the very mental behavior or the nature, you're not going to separately put your favor or get something especially out of that incident and hold it to one thing. You are capable to get that whole incident as one. That is where you develop your analytical, logical mindset. Because otherwise, we always separate things and we hold it to one thing. And that separation or the boundary line always related to the self. Me, I am. So that me, self, I am, soul, this everything, what happened, once you hold it to that, what happened deeply, you neglect something. So through the meditation, once you recognize this connection, slowly this self-centered idea going to become lower, or the minimize or release, powerless. And once you recognize the body and mind, the connection, and deeply, then you recognize that the body and mind, the environment, or the outside world, or maybe you can expand that and say the universe, body and mind, the universe. And then there is no separation. So there is no kind of like, oh, this is me, or that is that, or kind of like that way. This all together, that is, but still it has a way to depend each other, but with the deeper connection, not separately. So once you have this understanding, you become more humble. And then you are not afraid to open, you become more open. Why? Because there's no things to resist. Whatever in front of you, whatever around you, it is a part of you. Once you have that understanding, you become so comfortable with your own behavior, your own mind. You are become so comfortable with the moment. If you are become so comfortable with moment, your mind not going to jump out of that comfort and start to dream about the past, or look, you're not going to think about, dwell on your past. The very reason that we are not comfortable with the moment. Why we are not comfortable? Because we so detached. We detach from the body, mind, and the nature. Nature means the environment. As a result of that, naturally, always the mind has a way to look something from the past or the something from the future. So actually it starts because of we separately try to put our favor and understand and give attention to the body or the mind separately. We didn't recognize this both together. So then remember from today, whatever you do, any action you do, and maybe, you know, sometimes we so focused to body and we neglected mind. We become so physical and we so neglected the mind. We didn't see the connection. And we abuse, sometimes we too much abuse the body thinking about it and we forget the mind. And sometimes we go with the mind and we neglect the body. So we can see many, you know, when many ascetics practice, the yogic practice, the spiritual practice, and sometimes it's completely neglect the body, and they completely different in a la-la land. They hook up with that and they go, you know, they caught up into mental image or something, and they completely destroy this, the physical part. So then when you practice meditation, remember that your posture is important, and your awareness, your mental position also important. So give a chance to this both and work with this both, align with this both, and put the awareness to this both. and bring the connection to the both, because once the mind settle down and comfortable with your body, that means in the moment, it's not going to leave, it's not going to jump, it's not going to look something regarding the past or the future. But when the mind not comfortable with the body, what will happen? It start to go here and there. So that's why when it comes to meditation, look into that, and at the same time, remember that our purpose is not releasing from this and go into somewhere. We recognizing the mind and the body, the both change. It's impermanent. And there is nothing that going to exist. There is nothing that permanently exists, or we don't look any kind of like a place to settle down. This both impermanent. And this both has a deeper connection together. And this both change, but it always that have a deeper bond. So once you recognize that little by little, that your desire regarding the body, regarding the mind, going to become slowly different, shift to different level. And then the craving part going to become slow down. The cravingness regarding your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, there is a cravingness. So this craving part becomes slowed down. It's become more kind of like a powerless. And once it become powerless, what happened? Your wisdom part going to become more sharp and clear. And at the same time, there is another thing. And sometimes when the craving part, that means the desire slow down, and sometimes the very laziness can be there. See, sometimes people, they have no any desire, they're craving, but they are at the same time, internally, they are so lazy. So the very key point is the awareness. When you have the awareness or sharpening your recognition moment by moment, that is the key point to balance that your practice. When you separate from the cravingness, not to caught up with the laziness, but to bring the awakened part to you. So once you be aware, moment by moment, with your recognition, you're going to become more sharp and clear. So once you are capable to manage that and bring this all together and keep walking and developing your path step by step, by the time you are capable to experience the transformation very happening within yourself with the moment of experience. So that is what we need, rather than bounding to something, rather than looking for something, rather than hating your body and look for mental liberation, or hating for your mental state and protect your body. No, you need this both, you respect this both, and you take care of this both, and you practice with this both. But remember, and knowingly, this both has a deeper interconnection and interdepending, but still the both has no solid or concrete, unchangeable existence. This all change moment by moment. So with that, let's get into practice a little bit ourselves. So your right palm on your left and neck head straight in one line, and be comfortable with your posture. So bring attention to your body and scan head to toes yourself and say Swapatveva, oh may I be well and happy 3 times. And take a moment and think, we gathered here in this moment to practice this ancient meditation technique. All the Buddhas, all the enlightened masters followed this path and achieved wisdom. So we also gathered here to accumulate that knowledge. In this moment with this sitting, may my body become more comfortable, may my breath be more smooth, may no difficulties come to me, may all the success come to me. Also think for a moment This is the last moment we're spending in this very lifetime, and detach your mind from all your past memories and as well as any kind of future thoughts. Just try to remain in the present moment, observing the sensation of your inhalations and exhalations. So in the beginning, deeply and gently, breathe in, breathe out 3 times and find the sensation, please. And allow your inhalations, exhalations happen itself. When it happens, through the sensation of it, recognize and do nothing extra. So bring attention to your body, please. Observe your posture. We cultivate loving kindness and compassion in our heart and radiate it as a light through entire your compound, village, city, state, country, world, around this universe. Also as far as you can through galaxies, other planets, the stars. Reminding yourself like this. With clear intention, mentally repeat after me. May all living beings in this universe be well and happy. May everyone be happy and safe. And may their hearts be filled with joy. May all living beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, visible or not visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Expand the loving kindness and compassion beginning from your heart. Forward. Visualize yourself and send it as a light. To your back side. To your left side. And to your right side. Downward. And upward. To all 6 directions at once. Like the moon, the sun, spread the light, spread the energy, without any condition, without any limitation, without any resistance, or without any judgment. Let your heart to shine with the loving kindness and compassion from the bottom of it, with the maximum effort to the highest, wishing yourself, may all living beings in this universe be well and happy. Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So first of all, we offer this practice to the great qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. And also by the power of this meritorious deed, may all of us attain to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May all your guardian angels and deities will receive these merits and increase their longevity. and protect all of you from any kind of planetary influences or any ill effects. Ittavatacha sampadam punya sampadam sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe sattanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya buddhang pujemi dhammang pujemi sanghang pujemi Addaya imaya patipattiya jati jara vyadi maranam ha paribunjissami Idamme punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you.